Well, hey people, this is DeRoy Cruz, your life applications officer, and uh, Happy New Year. There goes that watch situation again. Um, 1 second. All right. It is 29 minutes after 4 here in Pittsburgh on the day after New Year's, January 2nd, 2018. Happy New Year to America. Happy New Year to America. There's a lot of things that, I've learned in this country. And I didn't learn how to be black in this country. I learned how to be an American. I did not learn how to be black. Now, maybe some people have learned how to be black, and that's the problem. Nobody should be learning how to be black because black isn't a race. Neither is white. I said this in the last video. We don't need to learn how to be white. We don't need to learn how to be black. We need to learn how to, I agree. If you have something that's positive, that's good, then you should keep it and cherish it and share it with other people. That's what us Christians do. Now, I'm a Christian. I'm a born again Christian. And Christianity is the only religion. Get this. Christianity is the only religion, and religions such as Catholicism or Catholicism are the only religions. Catholicism is not Christian. Not Christian. A lot of people think it is. It's not. Okay. Protestant is not the complete era of Christianity either. Okay. It's bigger than that. Okay. All these churches combined, Pentecostal, Baptist, Presbyterian, and different ones, have something that is positive, and they have things that are negative. If we were to take and this is a good example of what I'm getting ready to talk about, if we were to take everything out of each church denomination that is positive and make it into one thing, make it into a law, a policy, then we could all be together instead of separate denominations. We could all be together, and we could all agree and come together because of those things that we understand are the positive core of the whole thing. That's what I go for. I have friends that are Baptists, and there's some things that we can argue about, and what we do is we just decide not to argue about it. We just decide that we'll agree to disagree on that. I have friends that are Lutheran, Presbyterian. I got friends that are Catholic. Help us, God. Help us. I have friends that are Catholic. Okay? And I have friends who are even Seventh-day Adventists. Help us, Lord. And I know I work with people that are Jehovah's Witnesses, Mormons. Help us, Lord. Help us, Lord. Help us. But, you know what I'm saying? If we could take the truth of the Bible and suck out the positive out of each denomination, okay, and put the negative on the back burner, put it over there somewhere, and just focus on the positive, which people like me do. Then we can be together. We can all be together. We can fellowship together. We can laugh together. We can eat together. We can, and that's just an example of the lifestyles here in America that we are supposed to be living. Okay? That's just an example. And I hope my heater isn't too loud. It's cold in here and I got drafts in my apartment, so and I got the heat all the way up. I got central heat all the way up, and I got 2 heaters going. I might have to turn this off if it's too loud. Maybe it's too loud. Maybe I turn it around so if I want to, I can turn it off. I'll turn it off for now, cause it might be too loud. I do have heat right here. Don't feel like anything coming out of here, but I got heat. But maybe I can turn it off for a while till I do this video. Anyway, let me say again that I love white people. I love white people. When I was a kid, and my mom was bringing me up in a mixed culture, I always looked up to white people. Now, maybe some black folks need to admit that they too have looked up to white people. And secretly, because I know that, when I was a kid, I lived in 2 parts of town. I stayed with my grandmother. Well, me and my mother, we stayed with my grandmother in the summer here in Pittsburgh. But we were in another part of town that's a ghetto now. But back then it was, it was a more of a mixed culture. One side of the neighborhood was mixed and the other side was predominantly white. But all the kids went to the same school districts. And we all played together. And when I was a kid, I said this in a number of videos. These white parents would invite me to come over on their side of the neighborhood and fellowship with their kids. And we would learn together and we would play together. And I was always impressed how the white people, the white families, always had enough and they always had more to share. And the black folks were all limited. Like, if somebody came over to my house and said, if someone came over to my house and we were going somewhere, my mama was like, oh, you might need to bring some money with you. Did your mama or your daddy, and here this white kid had enough money for all of us. She's like, oh, I got a lot, I got money, And I always, I grew up thinking like, what's wrong with black folks? They don't have it like that. Like, what is the trick? But then I also, as I was coming up, I also realized, and I'm realizing right now as I speak, the attitude of a lot of black people hold us back as a race, hold us back as a positive people. It holds us back because of our attitude. Okay? But I love white people. I really do. I mean, if I woke up if I woke up one day and this was, a black nation, and there wasn't no white people for miles, I mean thousands of miles, I think I would have a heart attack. And I think even if what's here was so rich in positive and in that, it would still be all so sad to me. I would really miss white people. I really would. Because I've learned so much from white people, and I've done so much laughing and having a good time with white people. It hurts me. Getting on with it. It hurts me. And it doesn't hurt me because I need something. I need what I already got. I have a job. Okay? I have a job. I have an income. I have some things that I purchased out of my own money in this place. To keep me going, to keep me happy, to keep me busy. I have hobbies, I have talents, I have gifts, I have things, and I don't call them white things or black things. I just call them things that I have because I'm an American. But getting on with it, it hurts me today. I was just listening to Charles Barkley on the Advice TV show. I hate that show. Because any show that just focuses on, oh, we're poor black people, I'm trying to prove to you how racist white folks are. I don't want to hear that every day. That's not something I want to invest my money in or donate money to, or, you know what I'm saying? Two wrongs don't make a right. So if white people are being racist, okay, if that's what you think, then you don't fix it by making a show to where you turn, where you open it up for black folks to hate because they have this fear of racism in every little thing that they do in life. Everywhere they go, they're worried about white supremacy or white, you know what I'm saying? And this guy here, I forget what his name is, this guy that runs this host of the Vice TV show, you make a show about whining and acting, retaliating against something that, like this, it doesn't help. It makes you look like a whiner. It makes you look like a troublemaker. But this show that he just did, I was totally shocked about this guy, Richard Spencer. He had Richard Spencer on the show. Well, Charles Barkley, the basketball player, had Richard Spencer on his show. Now, Charles Barkley and this lawyer guy that was on the show with him, he took it to places that we need to get over that. And we need to quit going back to slavery, man. You weren't there. Quit going back there, okay? You weren't there. It'd be different if you were there. And you know every little tiny detail. You went through it. You never died. You went through it. And here you are, 100 and some years old, or 200, or 400 years old, or whatever you are. And you remember that time. None of us are Moses or Methuselahs or Noah's or Adams. We can't go back that far in time and remember that. We can just speculate on what happened. It's very silly and immature to keep going back there. It really is. And I agree with Mr. Atheism is Unstoppable on that. Quit going back there. Quit crying about that. Because there's nothing that white people can do, as I said in the last video. There's nothing that white people can do to heal your so-called scars of racism, and I don't have any, by the way. But your so-called scars of racism and slavery, the only thing that they can do is to, what did I say in the last video? make sure it doesn't happen again. Now, we come to this Richard Spencer guy. I'm confused about this whole alt-right thing. I really am. I love white people, and some of the most uneducated and what is that word? Uninformed white people I've ever met. You know, even the ones that are wet behind the ears, they think it's about this, and it's not. It ain't got nothing to do about it, and they don't know the difference between me and other black people, or this guy and other blacks. You know, they don't know the difference between an Arab and a black person, or you know what I'm saying. They have these issues with color, and even these people, I've had to work with them, and I loved them, and we laughed together. But then, you know, there's always that thing that would come out of their mouth, or some act, or some statement, like some Richard Spencer nonsense that would come out of their mouth. As much as I loved them, that would make me feel like, man, this is really sad, man. Just make me feel sad that they feel that way after all the laughter and all the fun we've had together, and you know, everything they taught me and everything I've shared with them and how we work together. We got that chemistry going, and then they want to tell me some, you know, they just want to, you know, they hear something on the news and they throw it up in my face. And you know what I'm saying? Just like when Black Lives Matter first came out, I had all these white folks that I work with saying stuff in my presence, okay, instead of just simply asking me, do I support such nonsense? Okay. But no, they were afraid to do that, so they would say things and stuff that were eventually, after saying so much of it, you know, you can say one thing and it can be racist, and or you can harp on something until it becomes racist. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, you keep talking about something based on the fact that you know the majority is black. Eventually, I'm going to have to call you racist. Because I know you're only saying that. And you're only fussing about it because the majority is black. Or you could say one thing. And it's like, what was your point of saying that? Like, what is that? Like, why are you telling, why are you bringing up Hitler? Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not even a Jew. Why, you know. So obviously not only are you racist, but you're dumb about Hitler, you know. Anyway. And I've been through all that. In the midst of loving white people. I love white people. Especially the white people of this country. I don't know the white people in Germany. I don't know the white people in, you know, Europe. You know, I don't know the white people in Russia. I don't know white people in other countries. I only know the ones that are in this country. And it goes the same for black folks. I don't know black folks in other countries. I don't know Africans. I don't know Haitians and you know, I don't know Jamaicans in that. I only know the ones that are here that I've gotten to know. I'm not trying to go back to Africa and rebuild Africa. Because unless Africa becomes a part of America, I don't understand what the point is of me helping to rebuild Africa. I'm an American. Okay? So you're telling me that I need to move into the jungle, be under all that heat, that hot sun, okay, and rebuild a world learn the language, okay, and learn the cultures that my ancestors didn't even get to live, for the sake of being more of who I am, a black man, a black American. I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that. I believe that, get this, black folks, and get this, everybody. I believe that I am what I've learned to be in this country, Mr. Richard Spencer. This is what Mr. Barkley didn't tell you. What Mr. Barkley failed to say because it would go against his pride. He failed to tell you that we do learn from white people. We've learned everything from white people. Now you're telling me you're not good enough to be in the presence of us. I'm confused. I'm confused about this whole thing. And if this guy is hating on football, I thought it was a white man that invented football. Somebody correct me. I thought it was a white man that invented football, and it was one of the sports that black folks seem to play the best. And so, you know, all the white people I know that are football freaks, okay, most of them, not all of them, but most of them, they can't talk about football without considering black folks. And who do they love to talk about football? I'm talking about white men. Who do they love to talk about football the most with? A black dude, because they think that that's in our blood or something, you know. And maybe it is, I don't know, but they think it's in our blood. And what makes me mad is when they get mad at me because they act like I'm half a black man or no black man at all because I forgot to watch the game. I didn't know the score. I'm wearing a jacket and a hat in support of the Pittsburgh Steelers because I'm from Pittsburgh. But I don't know a first down from a touchdown. I don't. You know, when I go out with my friends and we're sitting in a restaurant or something and we're watching the game, you know, I'm like, what is that? Was that a touchdown? Why are they all jumping around acting crazy? That first down, second down, fifth down, the 20th down? What kind of down is that? Is that a touchdown? What is it? Is it a touchdown? Say touchdown so I know it's a touchdown. I mean, what is it? Okay? And as I said in the last video, you know, I was listening to this Atheism is Unstoppable, and I seen the same video with Richard Spencer and Charles Barkley on the Advice TV show, as well as Atheism Unstoppable. I've seen the same interview. And the Advice TV show, what bothers me about him is that his show is all about looking for white racism. That's what his show is all about. Catching somebody doing white racism. You know, he's like Colin Flaherty. Go looking to collect stories of all the blacks committing crimes and raping and killing on the white race. Mr. Advice TV show, whatever his name is, he's the exact opposite. He's there to show the world that whites are still practicing racism. and lynching black folks and killing their families and trying to do genocide on, you know what I'm saying? And both these guys almost, I can almost say they can both kiss my behind. Okay. Both of them. Okay. Because what we need in America is we need to come together as a race and as a culture. What bothered me about Charles Barkley and this lawyer guy that was on there interviewing, and you got Richard Spencer sitting in the middle with his alt-right self between two black guys who are probably Democrats. And they're throwing Donald Trump in there. And I did not know this. I feel bad now. It's more than just George Soros doing this stuff. And Mr. Advice TV show quoted some things while he was showing the interview, a recording of the interview. He's right. And I hate that. You let a guy like this be right. But he's right. A lot of people, and he don't like Donald Trump, but he said it, and so did Richard Spencer. They're both claiming that Donald Trump is in support of this movement, this alt-right. They're claiming that he's part of this movement, this alt-right movement. And what Richard Spencer was saying about this movement is that he wants to be white. Here, Mr. Richard Spencer. Here's a little piece of white paper. Okay. Would you like me to give you some white paint? I have some white paint too. Okay. You can paint yourself whiter than what you already are if you're not happy with the whiteness that you already got. Okay. It's sickening. It's dumb. Okay. Like, where are you going with this? But Donald Trump, I don't believe, is got the time as the President of the United States any more than Obama had the time as President of the United States or any other President of the United States. One thing that Democrats and Republicans alike need to understand is that the President of the United States is not your horn, as the Bible would say. He's not your horn. He's not your rock that you're going to stand on. He's just a party to help things in the country during that 4 years that they're reigning in office go towards certain things. A lot of times you could be Democrat or Republican and you ain't helping nobody. You might help taxes. You might have increased health care. You might have, brought more fuel and brought up the gas price for some, but you really didn't do anything for the people. People say, Barack Obama did so much. What did he do for me? I'm black. He black. What did he do for me? But the reason why I did not vote for a black man to be in office is not because I was in retaliation against Barack Obama, is because, number one, I'm a Republican. Been a Republican ever since I screwed up for voting for Bill Clinton. And back at that time, I started to learn some things about the condition of our nation and the lies and the things that go on, okay? But I didn't vote for Barack Obama because, number one, I'm a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. Number two, I don't see what the big deal is. What can a black man do for you in a country like this that's already been established that a white man can't do for you? You don't need a black president. You need a president that cares about you, period. You don't need a white or black president. You need a person that cares about you. Now, let me say this before I forget. Maybe you've never been in a house or in an apartment complex, a lot of you even, to where you have laws and policies that keep everybody getting along. Okay? I have. And if you move into an apartment complex, if you move into a house, I lived in a dormitory for 2 years. I lived in a dormitory for 2 years back in, what year was it? Back in '87, fresh out of high school. I left Pittsburgh and went to, actually I moved to New Kensington first, then I left Pittsburgh. Went to school, secondary school, Job Corps for 2 years, and then I came back to New Kensington. But when I was in Job Corps, I lived in a dormitory. Dormitory was huge, big place. Everybody in there was taught how to get along. And we had Christians in there. We had homosexuals in there, a good number of them. Okay? We had plenty of blacks. We had Spanish. We had whites. We might had one or two Asians. Oh yeah, we did. I take that back. Vietnamese. We had a Vietnamese group that stayed in there. I felt way back then while we were all bunking together, like, you know what I'm saying? Like we all live on rules to get along. But then when we get up in the morning, we always choose to go to class with, and most of the time anyway, of someone like us. And I felt that that was dumb. It never mattered to me who I walked to class with. Because we're being taught. What is the whole point? I understood the point. Why are you teaching us that nobody is better than anybody else? Why are you teaching us these orientation classes about getting along with people if we're supposed to walk to class? If I'm supposed to walk to class with somebody that's black. The whole point of teaching us to get along and having these strict policies and rules about the dormitory was so that we get along. And so that we come together as a family. That's the whole point of it. That's why, Mr. Colin Flaherty, we are not going to take white folks out of black schools, as you call it, which there is no such thing. We're not going to take white kids out of black schools or take black kids out of white schools. That's why, Mr. Richard Spencer, we're going to continue, okay, to have football and basketball. Okay, not because we're trying to crush. Now, in his opinion, we're trying, this is one way that we're multiculturalizing and crushing the white nations. Because America is the only nation where we have football. And see, another thing that I'm learning about this alt-right thing is a lot of these people have an accent when they talk. From this guy to Red Ice, and a lot of the movement doesn't really have to do as much against black folks as much as it is going against Arabs. If you do your homework, if you look at as many videos on this crap that I've been looking at, you'll see it's the Arabs and what they did to Europe and Germany and all that part of the world. And the fact that Putin ain't going to put up with it in his country. Okay? It's that kind of thing. They're looking at that. They're upset from what the Arabs. They're not really upset with black folks as much as they're upset with Arabs. I'm upset with Arabs too. And I'm the one that feels like if it really is that important to you to wear the hijab, if it's really that important to you to put your religion, if your religion conflicts with your job, my opinion is, why don't you keep it in your own country? But see, as a black man, this is what Charles Barkley was trying to get in the head. He's not saying it like I said it. He needed to come out clean with it because he didn't want to say clean. He didn't want to come clean with it because of his pride, because they all got pride. Listen, this is what Charles Barkley really wanted to say to Richard Spencer. I left my home. I got dragged here, away from my home, away from my people. I carry your name, your last name. I live in houses made by Europeans or whites or whatever they want to call themselves. And I've learned how to speak your language. I've learned how to do your math. I've learned how to be your kind of gentleman. I brought your culture into my homes, and I've accepted your culture as American culture, and I've accepted your culture as my culture. And now you want to leave. You want to leave, or you want me to leave. You want to separate us. And you call this peace. That's what he wanted to say. We are all already here. It'd be different, as I said in the last video. It'd be different if this was a movement of the beginning. If this was the movement that abolished slavery. But the alt-right didn't abolish slavery. If you pay attention and line up who's who, as I just was doing on YouTube a few minutes ago, a little bit ago, you'll see that the alt-right are the people or the offspring of the people that initiated slavery and at one point did not want to let the abolitionists put an end to it. So now they feel that, okay, and I know what if, between Black Lives Matter and ISIS, okay, somewhere in between there, they've had enough and they want to separate themselves. And I don't think that that's the answer. I think the answer is the protest should be not in segregation and, listen, people, you cannot give more to yourself without giving less to somebody else. Let me say that again. You cannot give more to yourself without giving less to somebody else. What we need to learn how to do is share, which will never ever be to the full extent of sharing because money is the god of this world. And as long as people have money, people have property and assets, and they can do whatever they want to do on their property. It's not even up for argument. You don't even need to protest that. I mean, you know what I'm saying? This protesting is no more than someone sticking their chest out and saying, hey, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. And, and this guy in that interview that I'm talking about, and he was wrong for saying that, looked at Mr. Richard Spencer and said, hey, I hate to tell you, but in the near future, your grandkids, they're going to be brown. Well, see, as I said in the last video, if you love your white skin and you love, uh, that cancer cell, pigmentation that you got, that's loaded with cancer cells, okay? Um, and you want to build a family that looks like you. That's fine. There's no law against that. God has nothing against that. Okay? But I think in a country like this, if somebody wants to look at you and say, no, someone that's totally a different race than you and say, no, I would like to fall in love with somebody like her and see what my kids would look like if I have kids with her. I would love to mix and you know what I'm saying? See, I think it's demonic to think that race is anything more than a description of where you originally come from. Again, I believe that race is nothing more than a description of where you originally came from. But your culture is where you settle down at and you create, and so with these, you create a society by mixing in with whoever's there. When white folks, they'll call themselves white, but they didn't call themselves whites back then. But when so-called white folks came here and discovered America, so to speak, and they were able to get the Indians to give up land here in this country, and they built on this land which used to be a tribal land. Okay, what about the people that came in after they discovered? Whether they were white or whether they, and someone else said this, and I said this last night. Whether they were white or whether they were brown or whatever they were before slavery got here, they were not your white behind. They were wherever they come from. Just like I'm hearing that a lot of white people hated the Italians that lived in this country. I'm hearing that the Irish and the Italians didn't get along, and the Spanish didn't get along with the blacks in certain parts of the country, and you name it. And then there's like Asian groups against each other right in the same country. Because why? You are wherever you land and choose to build a lifestyle for yourself. That's who you are. And then you raise your kids in that soil, in that type of lifestyle. That becomes a culture. Has nothing to do with your skin color. Has to do with where you settle down and begin to create a society. But I'm Leroy Cruz, your life applications officer. I'm going to close there. I might do another segment of this, but I'm confused about this alt-right. If you can make some sense of it and show me where there's a blessing, a true blessing in it for any of us, or is it just another way of creating a race war, another way of creating a war? Is it just something to protest and have riots about? What is it? So far, to me, it's the other side of white folks that I don't like. Because I love white people. But to think that there's people sitting next to me, working next to me, that feel this way, that this is their country and I'm in the way. And no matter how well I do my job or anything, I don't belong here. They don't belong in a relationship with me. That really breaks my heart. So, God bless you. See you soon. Leave a comment and we'll talk some more. Happy New Year.